Okay, so recently we've been talking about a little bit of a kind of announcement from Vienna talking about Mythic Talent and the fact that she was leaving. Now, it seems like this has actually drawn a lot more conversation, especially surrounding Mythic Talent, not necessarily from this one post, but there was a lot of people also mentioning a situation going on with Grimmie, who also mentioned the fact that, you know, she's no longer a part of Mythic and that there was also some problems there, which she mentions in a clip, which we will talk about in a second, right? But it seems like a lot of VTubers and stuff have been commenting on this clip, and yeah, people have been discussing it. Now, this is the clip that I essentially saw here, and if you don't know who Mythic Talent is, essentially they're a big talent company that cover a lot of different creators from, you know, some of the biggest ones on Twitch and YouTube, as well as a lot of VTubers. A lot of indie VTubers tend to go with them, right? And they get them sponsors and stuff like that, right? And as you can see here, like going through the list of just general people that are with them, as well as VTubers, they have like a separate, like literal VTuber tag for them. You can see that, you know, there are many indie VTubers that you may know or may even enjoy that are a part of this, you know, talent agency, right? And well, it seems like here, this clip came out where essentially they're saying, so Grimmie implied that Mythic is another black company, but will drama tubers talk about this when it comes, when all of the biggest ones work for them? Well, I guess False already graduated, but Rima is still there. Now, obviously, yeah, they're discussing the fact that obviously False ID and also Rima are a part of Mythic Talent, but again, I will get into what I think about that and, like, you know, why they're talking about it, not talking about it, whatever, and whether it even really matters in the first place. But let's just go quickly through the clip of what Grimmie had to say about her kind of experience with Mythic Talent, right, and everything that's going on with her.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, I was always independent, so the thing is, if you're a sponsor or anything like that, please just direct yourself to Grimmie at deadtransmission.com. As for the stuff with Mythic, I can't talk about it, and I'm specifically not gonna say anything about it. That's pretty much it. I wasn't hype about it. I'm not gonna tell anyone about it. It was a little silly. On your about page, Twitch? Okay, I'll change that right now. Thank you for letting me know. This isn't like a thing where it's just like, oh, Grimmie got upset. This was quite substantial. But on the other hand, I don't really want to, like, cause any problems for anyone there. I don't know how on earth... I don't know. Pretty much all I'll say is that was... there was something very, very crazy. I think people would be pretty upset about it if they do, and that's pretty much all I can say. I think everyone would be pissed, but I am not going to talk about it. And if I hear any rumors spreading about why I left, where they're trying to frame me negatively, I will talk about it, and I will tell everyone exactly what it was. I was really, really, really upset, and I think everyone would have been, like, universally there, so...
So yeah, obviously she mentions that she found something out that obviously was going on at Mythic, or something happened there, which essentially she was upset about, and that obviously caused her to leave. That's what she's saying. And obviously, yeah, she said, like, she'll definitely talk about it if people, you know, try to swing it any other different way. And I do think that is a pretty fair enough reason to leave a company like Mythic Talent. Something there that you don't like, or something happened that you don't like, well, yeah, obviously, you know, leave. And I think that is something that a lot of VTubers should probably learn, right? I guess whenever it comes to some bad companies. Now, of course, some are harder to get out of than others. I feel like Mythic is pretty easy to get in and out of. Well, not in, well, less so in, but more out of. So again, I feel like, you know, she definitely had the option there. And yeah, obviously she's talking about the fact that something has gone on there. Now we don't know what that is. She can't really say. She also mentions later that she's kind of weighing up whether she's going to take legal action as well, which I think is pretty crazy. But again, it's not like confirmed or anything. She just said that she was thinking about it, right? But again, it is pretty insane. And a lot of people are questioning, well, what is this thing? What is actually going on behind Mythic Talent, right? Because she said it's something that pretty much everybody would be like, oh yeah, no, I don't really like that. But again, we don't know what that thing is. Everybody wants to know what that thing is, but you can kind of understand as well at the same time maybe why she would be a little bit hesitant to kind of say anything, right? And obviously there has been some responses though, including Chacha, who's responded to this tweet in particular, because obviously you know, this person is trying to imply that Mythic is just another black company, which I think is pretty interesting, because obviously black company is something that is associated with VTuber agencies. For example, you know, people paint Nijisanji as a black company, and so many others, VShojo as well, of course, a very obvious one. Both VTuber agencies, you know, catering specifically to VTubers, whereas, you know, Mythic Talent isn't a VTuber agency. It's a talent agency in general. It's got so many creators outside of VTubers. It just happens to have a lot of the indie VTubers in it as well. So again, can you really call it, or can you really say that they implied that it's a black company? I don't know, because again, it's technically not a VTuber agency, which is something that people have been discussing, saying, how can Mythic be a black company when they aren't even a real agency? They're more like a talent management rental service, are they not? VTubers don't work for Mythic like normal agencies. They rather work with them to get sponsors, which is correct, right? Obviously, Mythic is, you know, kind of works to get sponsors for talent. They don't control anything really that the talent actually does, unless they're kind of doing one of their own kind of ventures. I think like Beyond the Veil is something that is kind of controlled by Mythic, so of course they're going to control things to do with that, but they're not going to control things to do with what their streams are, what they're going to be saying on stream, how they act. You know, they are literally just there for the sponsor side of things, as far as I know, right? And obviously they've said the same thing about VShojo, which I just don't get, because again, VShojo is a VTuber agency. We're comparing a VTuber agency to a talent management, you know, company, which I do think is a lot different, right? And as you know, VShojo can control certain things to do with their talents, as we saw with a lot of the drama that came out, and of course, yeah, I feel like it is a lot different, right? People saying it was never a secret that Mythic, or any agency for that matter, has always been a black company. It's only a matter of time before FaZe Connect and Cover Corp also get exposed for Niji levels of dirt, which, again, I don't know if it's true. Obviously, there's a lot of people kind of putting on their kind of detective hats there, right? Saying, what is happening? Did something happen? Or is she just implying that something happened with a Mythic, but info on it hasn't come out yet? That she's leaving Mythic, and she implied that they screwed over their members pretty badly. No details for now, but she threatened to spill the beans if they tried, you know, saying bad things about her. Also implies that there might be a legal case, so maybe we should ask Mythic's lawyer for an option, legal mindset, which I do think, yeah, that's quite funny. Legal mindset is with Mythic. But yeah, obviously there's clearly something that has gone on. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if this is related to the Vienna post as to why she's no longer working with Mythic, and also some of the other people that have left. I think Filian also left, which again, I don't know if that is anything to do with that, or if it is something completely different, right? It could be completely, you know, two different sides of the you know, thing. Maybe Vienna just left because, you know, she found something better, a better opportunity or whatever, and that's it, right? That could literally be it. She didn't know anything about it. And obviously as well, we can go into the fact that obviously they imply, obviously, False and Rima saying that, hey, why aren't these drama tubers talking about this? And obviously I feel like I'd be kind of considered a drama tuber as well, so I'm talking about it, but I'm not affiliated with Mythic, so I guess that's the difference there, right? But obviously, yeah, they're saying, why isn't False and Rima talking about it? Well, I think there is a pretty important reason. One, because obviously they're saying False is pretty much graduating. I don't think he really cares at this point to cover it anymore. He is literally ending up his stuff, and definitely go donate to his whole charity thing that he's doing at the moment, right? But again, you know, Rima, for example, I think there is definitely a lot of, you know, kind of caution to be careful of whenever you are with Mythic, and I do understand why that would be the case, right? And also, it could just be the fact that she hasn't gotten to it yet. You know, this is you know, this isn't exactly the biggest drama of the decade, right? Where everybody's talking about this on Twitter right now. It took a while for me to find this, and obviously it took a while for this clip to come up to me, even though people were talking about it yesterday whenever I covered the whole Vienna stuff, right? So again, maybe it's the fact that Rima hasn't even gotten to it yet. That could also be a factor, but also at the same time as well, I do think she has to be careful because, of course, she is still with Mythic Talent. I don't think there's anything wrong with being careful about what you say about the company that is obviously getting you sponsors and things. I think that is totally fine, and I think obviously it's totally fine to try and, you know, find things out privately of what has happened and what is going on before you go, you know, comment on stuff publicly and potentially ruin your relationship with a talent agency over nothing, right? So again, I do understand the caution, and I don't, you know, obviously some people are trying to paint it as like, oh, you know, they're not reliable because of this. No, I think they are reliable. I think it's just, you know, they're trying to find out more information, or even just haven't gotten to it yet. So again, I do think that provides a pretty good explanation there to that one. And again, I don't think they should be bashed for not covering this yet, because, you know, maybe they'll cover it in the future once they know more information about this. Well, I say they, probably False won't, but Rima maybe. And again, I don't think it is, you know, entirely nice to be bashing them about that. But then obviously ChaChaYourVmom actually responded to this, who I'm pretty sure she's with Mythic, or she's worked with Mythic. Oh, she is still with Mythic, right? Okay, so she is still with Mythic. Obviously Filian isn't though. saying Mythic isn't a VTuber agency. They are a company that provides sponsorships to their talent roster. They also provide legal support if someone is trying to infringe on your IP. Mythic has helped me twice in that regard for making sure my IP was protected. I have nothing but good things to say about Mythic, honestly. So yeah, obviously Chacha giving her own experience with Mythic Talent as a VTuber who is with Mythic Talent, right? And I think there's going to be a lot of this that goes on, right? Because of course Grimmie knows something that maybe, you know, was enough for her to leave. And I think that is totally fine. That is, she's allowed to have her own opinion on that. And, she is allowed to know that information and leave based on that information if she wants to. But maybe Chacha doesn't know that information. Maybe Chacha doesn't know that either. And, that's why she's only had good interactions with Mythic, right? And I think there's going to be a lot of those where some VTubers maybe come out with their own story about, the fact that they didn't like it, or, some are going to come out and say that they've had no problems. Because again, not everybody is really clued in on exactly what Grimmie is saying, because Mythic is a pretty big company, right? There's a lot of talent that work, beside them. And I do think that, of course, that can sometimes mean that, not everybody is up to speed on, what Grimmie knows and what, she left over compared to Chacha, right? But of course, Chacha is saying, every single instance and everything that she knows personally has been good. There hasn't been any problems, and yeah, obviously she only has good things to say about Mythic, honestly. Now, obviously, she also kind of adds in a little bit of an extra bit here, which is extremely helpful. Obviously, talking about how it works, saying become a Mythic Talent, you get on the roster of streamers, and then gaming companies pick up the streamers on that roster and offer to pay money to play a game or activity on stream. So yeah, obviously they are the ones that are offering the sponsors, and then Mythic obviously asks the talent if they want to do that, and then they plan a stream day, fulfill the sponsor requirement. Mythic gets a cut, but the streamer gets a bigger cut, profit. So yeah, that is essentially it, right? They literally find you sponsors, or people come to them with sponsors, right? And they say, hey, we want to sponsor this person as a part of Mythic. Obviously with Mythic being a company already that has a lot of connections, right? They know a lot of people, they know a lot of games, they know a lot of projects, whatever, that want to sponsor people, and obviously they know them, so they will go to Mythic, look through their roster and be like, yeah, that's a good pick, and then they will go to them and be like, hey, can we sponsor these people? Then they'll do the sponsor, they'll get paid, and obviously, yeah, it increases the likelihood that you are going to get a sponsor, compared to just doing it on your own, because you can set up an email and obviously get sponsors, like, how I do and stuff. But again, obviously, there's no kind of guarantee the sponsors will find you, and you get a just higher platform and more consistent sponsors over time. And I think a lot of the people that I have talked with and even know quite well that are with Mythic, I've never heard anything negative to do with it. But of course, maybe that's due to the fact that they don't want to speak about it or whatever. But it would be interesting to see what information Grimmie does have that everybody would dislike so much, right? I do think that is going to be very interesting to see, and of course, we will cover that whenever that does, I say whenever that does come out, if it does come out, it might never come out, but I feel like there's something under the surface here which we don't know about, and obviously, I feel like, Grimmie has every reason to obviously dislike whatever has gone on, but obviously, we don't know what it is yet, so we can't really, judge anything. Yeah, right. People saying, I mean, I wouldn't call it a VTuber agency either. It's just more of a general talent agency. I don't even see what the difference is, though. Isn't everything you listed what a VTuber agency would also do anyways, or at least should do? Now, of course, this is where the confusion comes in, because obviously VTuber agencies are different to general talent agencies. Obviously, the way that, Chacha described it was obviously, yeah, like in this way. Obviously, a game comes to them, they sponsor, they get the sponsor. That's it. That is literally it. And also, she said they provide legal help, right? Whereas VTubers, obviously, there's these more active roles which they take on. Obviously, Chacha says here, VTuber agencies take on a more active role in what the talents do. Agencies also take a cut from regular revenue from Twitch and YouTube, and Mythic only takes it per the sponsorship. So Mythic aren't taking your money, every time you make a YouTube payment, every time you get a Twitch payment or whatever. You're still making that money completely with no cut. It's only the sponsorships that you get from Mythic is the ones that they take a cut with. So that is why it's different. Agencies, obviously, VTuber agencies, take a cut from the regular revenue as well. There's a Mythic doesn't tell me how to stream, rules or stipulations to stream. VTuber agencies, in most cases, own your VTuber identity as well, which is, yeah, 100% true. And that is a really good explanation, right? And people say, I think technically it's still an agency, but I get your point. And I do think, a lot of people maybe struggle to understand the differences between a VTuber agency and a regular talent agency, as all of the points that Chacha just mentioned there. The VTuber agency, most of the time owns your VTuber identity. Obviously, there are some good ones out there that don't, but there are some other ones that do. And of course, yeah, they control, how you kind of speak, what you speak about, and obviously, you know, you have to be a lot more careful with things you say, play, or interact with, because of course they have rules, they have different kind of things, and you have other members to worry about, and potentially, you know, if something goes bad, right, you have them as well, which are also catching heat from that. Of course, you know, the VTuber agency is going to control that a bit more. Whereas with talent agencies, it's different. With this, well, with Mythic Talent Agency in particular, it's different because there is no rules on what you can say, stream, or whatever, because there are so many creators in here that stream different things, right? There's VTubers, there's, you know, cosplayers, artists, World of Warcraft, Apex Legends, right? So many different people that play games, don't play games, do whatever, and of course, or speak about whatever, and are very, very different in terms of their opinions and stuff. And of course, there is no set rule, because you can tell just by looking through like the creator list, there's a lot of people here with differing opinions. You know, it's not about, you know, keeping rules or keeping everyone on the same page. No, like usually what a VTuber agency does, this is about literally just getting them work, getting them money, which of course Mythic Talent gets a cut of that, and that's how they make their money, right? They're saying still an agency, absolutely, just not a VTuber agency in the hololive sense. It's more like a sponsorship team with extra benefits. IMO, all the good things of an agency without the stifling control. I said, oh yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Again, thank you for taking the time. Say, I thought you wouldn't need one, Chacha. I said, wouldn't need sponsorships. Every streamer needs sponsorships, which, yeah, is true, right? A lot of streamers benefit a lot from sponsorships and doing that kind of stuff because, again, it makes money and it gives you that little bit of extra money that, you know, some streamers need, especially people in the small to mid-range of streamers, right? Obviously, a lot of people in the larger kind of category of VTubers and streamers, they can get off of YouTube and Twitch revenue pretty fine, and they're going to be rich anyways. But a lot of people do take sponsors as well, even if they are big, right? Because of course they're going to get a big payday because they have a huge viewership, right? But especially for the smaller and, you know, more medium-sized streamers, they still do get a lot of money from sponsorships, and maybe it can make up that little bit that maybe they're not making on YouTube or Twitch. Which of course, yeah, can obviously, you know, benefit them. And yeah, being with an agency like Mythic helps you get those sponsors. And obviously a lot of people, yeah, saying 4 days after this, which is obviously Kaceytron going after Mythic Talent, you know, listing all the brands and creators with Mythic Talent because they're partnered with Asmongold, which is something that Kaceytron has been trying to do quite a bit, right? And again, you know, she's already been in legal trouble for similar kind of things like this with the whole H3 stuff, which again has been pretty interesting. And I do find it very interesting that she is back doing this despite, you know, literally breaking down on stream because she's going to get sued a ton of money, right? And obviously it ended up being settled, but it seems like she's just back to harassing people on the internet, which I think is pretty crazy. And of course, you know, I don't think that being a creator in Mythic Talent means that, you know, let's for example say, you know, Lucy Pie here, I don't think she is necessarily correlated to like Annie, right? You know, maybe they've interacted. I don't know if they've interacted before, but again, you know, I don't know. I think what was it? Asmongold is no longer affiliated with them, as far as I know. Maybe he is still affiliated, but even, you know, going off of the original Kaceytron thing, just because Asmongold was with Mythic Talent, or maybe is, I don't know. But you know, just because he's been affiliated with them doesn't mean that like Shy Lily, you know, follows the exact same opinions as him, you know, at all. She could be on the complete opposite side. That's how a talent agency works. That is how, you know, people in a talent agency works. They don't have the same opinions. They don't have the same kind of goals or whatever. You know, they're completely different people. They're just all represented by a company that, you know, of course, gets in sponsors for them, regardless of what kind of content they make, their opinions, or whatever. So again, I think it is pretty crazy that some people are trying to trying to say, especially Kaceytron here, trying to say like, oh, these people are all partnered with Mythic and they partner with Asmongold, so you should cancel them all. It's like, oh my god, bro, let's be real. It's like, you know, people trying to go after you for following someone on Twitter. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of wanted to give that little bit of an explanation because I think a lot of people don't really understand how the difference between a Mythic Talent is and something like a VTuber agency is. Now, of course, there is definitely still this issue of what is going on behind the scenes at Mythic Talent and, you know, what don't we know about. That would be very interesting to find out. But of course, we can't really comment on it until we actually know what it is, if it ever does come out. But I feel like, of course, it's something that is affecting maybe more than Grimmie. I don't know. I don't know if she kind of implied that or not, but she said that, you know, a lot of people said, you know, they would see this as pretty bad. So again, maybe it'll come out at some point. Maybe it won't. But as I said, we'll continue to cover this if anything does end up releasing. But yeah, that's essentially all there is for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kazo, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.